Good morning, Fred. Good morning, Davey.
Yo, the lies so that you never make it. Hopeless, so it seems. Eyes closed, hands open wide to embrace your dreams. Sometimes you gotta take a loss just to get the win. Like lots of sin was popping in like oxygen when boxes wet. Focus on the mental, never lose like a smooth instrumental. Better choose on the move in a pinto. Choose what I get to, never lose smooth on the move, but it's simple. Never give up and we running it, maybe. We just keep winning, we conquering daily. Envision and pay me, it's never the sway me. Indigenous, maybe we winning this crazy. Your opportunity, your opportunity,
That's it, hit
your
that like button.
opportunity, it's
Let's
your
go.
opportunity, your opportunity,
I'm ready
your
to get this thing started.
opportunity,
Let's
your
go.
opportunity, it's your opportunity, your opportunity, your opportunity, your opportunity, it's your opportunity, your opportunity, your opportunity.
Yeah, here we are. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome one, welcome all. It is the Lion Villain Report with your boy, Russell Wayne in the house. We are broadcasting live right now into the Lions Villain Squad Facebook page. Thank you to everybody that is following and sharing and liking this content. If you like football, you should hit that like button. You should hit that subscribe button or that follow button, because we're going to be doing this 5 days a week, at least, for the entire season. And then we got the Sunday games going on as well. We're broadcasting live into the Detroit Lions News Podcast, where I will also be tonight with the Sports Illustrated, John Macaroon, Detroit Darcy, Mark Orem going to be in the house tonight. We're going to have a great show tonight as well, talking about these things. NFL Huddle Sports Network on Roku. Thank you. Thank you for allowing us to be on your platform. And also we're on YouTube, the Lions Villain Squad YouTube and JC Sports. Join the conversation. I don't care what team you represent. Most of the guys on here are Lions fans, but we also invite the trolls. If you want to come in and talk a little bit of trash, because we don't mind that, because we're not going to hate on you. Because it's faith, family, and then football right here. You can be a Packer fan or a Bear fan or a Viking fan And we don't have to hate the person. We actually love the person. We love the person, but we can hate on your team because it's faith, family, and then football, because we're not going to take ourselves too seriously out there in this. But here we are. Preseason is over. The 53-man roster is set. Is it? Or 52-man roster? Let's get into that. And then we have a couple signings. Lions signed Tim Patrick to the practice squad. And we're going to talk about these 32 or this 53-man roster, 52-man roster, however you want to look at it. Putting a shout out to my boys before the YouTube promo even hits, the automatic YouTube promo even hits. You got Fred Peterson in the house, our Patreon. Thank you, Fred Peterson, for being our Patreon and supporting the channel in the way that you do. You've been a big supporter to us. We love that you're here every morning supporting the Detroit Lions. And then Davey's been coming in before the music even drops. And I appreciate that, because you guys are the ones that get to hear the LaFleur. You get to hear the LaFleur. And I don't bust this out as many times, but if you gotta be here in the morning to hear this. And I'm gonna give it to the 41 people on there right now. Hit that like button, and I'm gonna give you the LaFleur for free today. But you're gonna have to get here early to get it next time. So here it goes for all of the early birds. So right there is the way that I feel when LaFleur is trying to explain why he traded for Malik Willis, who a lot of Lions fans wanted at number 2 overall instead of Aiden Hutchinson back in the day. I remember you. We keep the receipts. We keep the receipts in here. I mean, the furthest I got to trying to endorse a Malik Willis is like, I trust Brad Holmes. And if Brad Holmes were to have made that pick, then I would have supported it. But he didn't make that pick, and for obvious reasons, he ends up dropping all the way to like the 6th round, and Tennessee's already given up on him, traded him to the Green Bay Packers because the Green Bay Packers don't believe in Sean Clifford like their fan base thinks that they believe in Sean Clifford. But we're here to talk about the Lions 53-man roster, so I'm going to get in and say hello to some of the other people that are in here. Good morning, Dwayne. Let's go, Lions. One Pride NFC North Championship. Let's go. And because of you, I'll go ahead and put that graphic up. Look at that. Look at how pretty that graphic is right there. The NFC North Division Champions. That makes us the villain of the NFC North. And nobody's going to like that. Yeah, and that's why we enjoy being the villain on this program right here. And let's see what else we got in here. We have Matt Henry. Good morning, sir. Bobby B. Dizzle Diddle. Let's go, Lions. It's 8 a.m. It's 8-hour year to be Super Bowl champions. Okay, I'm going to agree with that. Good morning, Russ and the villains. Good morning to Chance Lax. Good morning to A-Dub. He's one of our resident Packer fans that are in here. Always has a good take about the Packers. He's realistic about the Packers, and we appreciate you watching, A-Dub. Paul, what's going on? Elise, hey, good morning, villains. It's a great day to be a Lions fan. One Pride. You like that? I'm sure you meant the 52-man roster. I do mean the 52-man roster, but this is our 53-man roster, and this is what I wanted to talk about right here. What does that even mean, right? The 53-man roster is actually the 52-man roster, but let's talk about that. Let's unpack that for a minute. John Kaminsky was also on that list, and Kyle Pecco was cut or released from the team, and I don't think that that's a long-term thing. I think they kept those roster spots open for things like the Tim Patrick thing. I don't think that it was 100% that he was going to, be a practice squad guy. I didn't know. So I think they cleared a roster spot just in case they had to sign him to the main roster because of that. And then John Kaminsky was also on the roster, which he is going to be going to injured reserve, which makes another roster spot that I think they got something in plans that we don't know about yet that is going to happen over the next 24 hours as we establish the practice squad. A lot of these guys, I think they made educated moves on how many of these guys can we get through our waivers to get onto our practice squad and keep the most amount of these guys, like the Mitchell Agude. I really liked him. I think they're going to try to move him through. And then there were some other players too that were at the back end of that roster, like Ukwu, that might make it, or maybe even Matthew Betts that got cut, and he might even make it. So we have to figure out what they're going to be. So this is kind of like a tweener day right here. Goes over the next 24 hours, and actually over the next 2 hours, because they have to have their waiver claims in by 12 p.m. today. So if they wanted to claim one of the players that we got rid of on our squad, then they have till 12 o'clock today to claim them, or they become our first choice. Brad Holmes gets to do the first choice when it comes down to that. So why only 52? Why only 52 instead of 53? And I think it does have a lot to do with that man that you see in the picture in John Kaminsky. Because they want to have roster flexibility, the back end of their roster, the 2 spots that they were thinking, because they had 6 or 7 spots available. When Dan Campbell spoke to the media earlier this week, he had said there was a couple of spots that were there, 6 or 7 spots that were there. And Jeremy B brought up a good point yesterday where they had 41 guys in street clothes for the last preseason games. There was not a ton of people that were actually going to be on the roster playing in those preseason games. So they were literally having a battle of, I mean, what is that? Like almost 50 guys that were battling for what, 6 or 7 spots. And to tell you the truth, they only filled up like 4 or 5 of those spots with those guys because they ended up getting rid of all the wide receivers, and then they end up signing Patrick to the practice squad. And that's definitely one of the top storylines. The Lions have been searching for that big X wide receiver the entire training camp. They wanted one of those guys to step up. Donovan Peoples-Jones, Darius Fountain, Caden Davis. These were the guys that were competing, trying to fill that last spot. And I'm glad that they were able to get a guy like Tim Patrick, who is 6'4", and he embodies that type of receiver that we are looking forward to. Now, the 30-year-old Patrick has spent most of the past 7 seasons with the Broncos, but he missed the 22 and the 23 season with an ACL and Achilles injury. In 2021, he caught a career high 53 passes for 734 yards and 5 touchdowns. He adds the size. He's 6'4", 212 pounds, and a deep play element that he is going to add to the Lions offense when he gets up to speed. Now, they put him on the practice squad because here's the thing. You're not just going to jump onto this team and then just, boom, you become the number 4 receiver. He's going to have to earn those reps on there because the Lions did keep 4 wide receivers. I mean, let's go through some of that stuff right there because I do want to talk a little bit about Tim Patrick, but what do you feel about Tim Patrick? I mean, a lot of people would think that this is a nothing move or whatever. You're just filling the body, but I don't believe that. I don't believe that. This guy was playing at a high level before his injuries. And you know how Brad Holmes is. You know how Brad Holmes is. Brad Holmes going to come in there and he's going to do what he can do. He ain't just going to let that you want that big body X receiver, you needed to go out there and get something done. He gave Donovan Peoples-Jones a chance. He gave those guys a chance to make the roster. He even said as much. I want it to be somebody from the inside, somebody that's been here, blood, sweat, and tears with us. But it didn't work out. It didn't work out like that. And with 4 wide receivers, Isaiah Williams, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jameson Williams, and Khalif Raymond, those guys are fine. Those guys are fine. They're good players. And, we wanted to add another big body to it, but he's going to have to earn his way onto this roster to make that impact. But he does offer something that none of the other wide receivers on our team offer, and that is size and contest ball capabilities. And Dan Campbell had talked about that. Like, he was asked at his press conference, and he said, if you believe that you're lacking a big body wide receiver, would that limit the Lions offense? And Dan Campbell said, quote, no, I don't believe that. And Campbell said, we will always be able to, with what we have on the roster. Offensive coordinator Ben Johnson does a hell of a job making sure that he puts guys in position to have success, and our guys go on to win, and whatever it takes to allow them to do that. So, no, I wouldn't say that it limits us, Campbell says, but like any offense or defense, man, you want to give us everything. So if you can have it all, you want to use it all. So it would be a luxury if it helps, end quote. So with that being said, that's Dan Campbell. That's Dan Campbell talking about the X wide receiver even before we bring in this. So bringing in, according to Campbell, Tim Patrick, a 6'4" wide receiver that is healthy now, guys. He suffered that Achilles injury in 2023 in training camp last year. He was in here, and he was on a 3-year, $10 million a year deal with the Denver Broncos. And I don't blame the Denver Broncos for going younger. In the same sense, we got rid of Josh Reynolds, and it was really for the same reason. Because Josh Reynolds was our big body wide receiver. And they got rid of him, or not really got rid of him. I think that they made him an offer, but for the same reason, you can save a little bit of money and then go with your younger, cheaper wide receivers that are in there. That's what the Denver Broncos did, not the Lions, because we just paid Amon-Ra St. Brown. But we still have Jameson Williams on a rookie deal. And then you're bringing in this guy to compete and be the luxury that you want him to be. 6'4" contested ball guy they're going to put him on the practice squad. I don't know how long it's going to take him to learn what he needs to learn for the Lions offense, because if he is replacing Josh Reynolds' production, Josh Reynolds had 40 some odd catches last year, something like that. I don't remember. I'll have to look. Let's see, Josh Reynolds. Let's see. Let's bring that up, because this is what we're looking at right here. 2023 Lions. He had 40 receptions for 608 yards, 5 TDs. And Tim Patrick is here to replace that production. And the whole storyline over the offseason, to me, gets blown way out of proportion, because you're talking about the 5th and 6th receiving option on this team, because Jahmyr Gibbs is going to catch some balls and Laporte is going to catch the balls. I think we can agree with that, right? So this guy, trying to replace 40 catches in a season, I mean, come on, man. This isn't a game changing type of signing right here. It's okay. I'm glad that we got another guy in here to try out, to look at these things. We got to look at all those other guys during training camp, and it didn't pan out. It isn't what we have a championship roster here. And, a lot of these guys that would have made the team in 2022 and 2021 just ain't going to make the team this year because he's built it from the ground up. And the guys that we have that are young that he drafted are starting to develop. And like Jeremy B was saying yesterday, you got all of those people, 41 guys, and it's okay. You got 41 guys that are there to make the team better, and the guys that have been progressing through the years. And then there was only a few dudes, 12 guys that were going to make that roster outside of that. So thoughts on, okay, let's get back in here. I'm going to get some of these comments, get back up to the top, up, right there. You can support. We got the good morning ones out of the way. Big M's in the house. What's up? Paul, what's up? Paul Kowalski in the house. Thoughts on wide receiver Tom Kennedy? Kennedy! Yes, Kennedy. He is the Lions superhero. Tom Kennedy is indestructible. You cannot kill Tom Kennedy. Tom Kennedy comes back. He's like Night of the Living Dead. It doesn't matter. He will be on the practice squad forever. He will be ready to catch meaningful passes for this team. I love Tom Kennedy. Tom Kennedy reminds me of Don Kelly, baby. And if you guys are Detroit Tiger fans and you watch the Detroit Tiger, Tom Kennedy, the Detroit Tigers, Don Kelly, baby, you can count on him. He can play any position. Oh, you need third base? Oh, you need second base? Oh, you need an outfielder? Oh, you need a catcher? Don't matter. You can even pitch. Who cares? But Tom Kennedy's that guy, just won't go away. Just like Don Kelly, baby. Don Kelly wouldn't make a roster. But I'll tell you what, the minute somebody's injured, that dude come in there, switch hit, bat, right hand, left hand, pitch. Whatever you need him to do, I'll play first base. And that's what Tom Kennedy is to me. He embodies what Detroit Lions football is all about. He probably won't get picked up by any other teams because he's a Detroit Lion. I mean, you can make a living. I mean, most of us would love to make the living that the practice squad guys do. $100,000. Getting paid, $2,000 for practice or whatever. I mean, that's good money for us. We're blue collar here. Chance says if Patrick can stay healthy, I believe he can take over Josh Reynolds' roles and maybe more. Yep, that's why they got him, man. You need a big body X. Dan Campbell doesn't think we need a big body X, but I think that's because we have tight ends that are big bodies. Usually when you're looking for a big body X, you don't have a Sam Laporta on your team already, and he can be that guy. Sam Laporta is a big body receiver. He can be a red zone guy. Big M, what up, villains? Hopefully Patrick makes us forget about Reynolds. And I don't think we'll ever forget about Reynolds and why he's not on this team. So let's get that out of the way right away. I know that if you want to look backwards and you want to say, man, we should have kept Josh Reynolds, man. Josh Reynolds, man, he had all those big catches. And that's fine. He had big catches. But when we counted on you to make the biggest catches, we'll never unforget that. I don't know if you would forget it either. He dropped two of the most crucial passes that could have sent the Lions to the Super Bowl. He did. And that's the thing, man. I mean, Josh Reynolds may be able to catch on somewhere else, but there's not a Detroit Lion fan that watched that game last year in the NFC Championship and that are realistic about what happened that would say, man, I really want Josh Reynolds on this team. Gosh, he sure did perform in the regular season. No, it's the Ernest Biner effect. Ernest Biner was a Cleveland Brown on probably one of the best running tacks of all time in 85, 86. And when he fumbled the ball on the 1 yard line and cost the Browns a chance to go to the Super Bowl, he was never going to be a Brown anymore. Now, he went to the Washington and won a championship after the Browns, but he would have never been a Brown again. Never. So in this same way, Josh Reynolds, you can't re-sign Josh Reynolds. I know that they said they made him an offer, but is that just smoke? I mean, you can't drop 2 big passes like that and then have the fan base just forget. I mean, you would have to catch the game-winning touchdown in the Super Bowl in order to redeem yourself. And that's a lot of pressure to put on yourself. Brian Peacock says, are any of the 4 over 6'1"? LOL. No, they're not. They're not. And if you remember, and this is something I'm going to put a shout out to John Kapler, the bad guy, put a video out talking about the greatest show on turf. Were any of those wide receivers over 6 foot? You don't need to have the big body X wide receiver, especially when you got guys that are going out and doing space routes. Call them space routes. You're trying to get space. You're trying to work the defense into the spots that they're not defending. And, you know, I mean, but now they do have a wide receiver over the height of 6'1", 6'4", Tim Patrick, and he's played at an extremely high level in this league. This isn't a guy you're taking a chance on other than the fact that he was injured. And we know how Brad Holmes loves the injured guy. What? ACL? Sign him up. Let's go. Let's sign up these guys. Right there, Scott Harrison. Go Lions. Tore his ACL the year before that as well. Yes, he had 2 serious injuries. He had his best season of the year in, I think it was 2021. And he tore his ACL. Comes back the next year and then tears his Achilles in the training camp. And he's recovered from that injury. And the thing is you're going to not sign a guy? You're going to not sign a guy because he's had an injury past before? You know, Brad Holmes don't want to go out and spend big money on free agency guys. So he looks for discounts. And what comes along with discounts? Question marks. Question marks come along with discounts, and you can't get around them. I mean, there aren't really awesome guys in the league that are just going to be like, yeah, you know, I could make $10 million more, but I think I'll just come play for you because you guys are swell. That doesn't happen. I mean, we got DJ Reader at a discount because they wanted us to bet on him that he can come back from that injury as he's betting on us by giving us a better deal. Same thing with Tim Patrick right here. I mean, I understand why the Denver Broncos moved on for him because you sign him to a 3-year, $30 million deal and you miss both seasons due to an injury. And I mean, that sucks, but that's why he got released. You don't want to, what are you going to pay $30 million for one season of this guy? You don't even know how good he's going to be. Now, for the Lions to take a practice squad shot on this guy for $1.50 and a bag of Doritos and, you know, the extra prize inside the Dorito bag, you never know. But it's not costing many. There's certainly no risk to bringing in Tim Patrick. So, for the record, the only difference between Amon-Ra and Patrick's size is Patrick is 1 inch taller. They are the same weight. Now, that's not true. I think that Amon-Ra St. Brown. Let's check that out because I don't want to put misinformation out here. Amon-Ra St. Brown, I'm pretty sure he's 6 feet tall. Let's look at this. Do they have that in here? Stats. Amon-Ra St. Brown. 6 feet tall, 200 pounds. Yep. And Tim Patrick is 6'4" and some change. 6'4". He's by far the biggest receiver that we have on this team. So for the record, the difference is 4 inches. It's 4 inches taller. And Amon-Ra is 202 pounds. And Tim Patrick is 217 pounds. So that's a pretty big difference right there. That is a big body wide receiver. And then there's that. I don't know if he's already gone. Did you already leave? Okay. Jeremy B. Tim Patrick is Tyrell Williams 2.0. ACL 22, Achilles 23. He'll be injured almost as fast as he was promoted from the practice squad. So, Jeremy B. does not believe in Tim Patrick. Patrick has above average hands. Yes, he has very good hands. Jeremy B. says 30 and about to be 31. We have 52 active in the Profecta. We have Iffy and Kamish on the IR, so probably more signings to come, I would think. I would think that, yeah, Noah Brown, I like that pickup. I think he was the biggest wide receiver they had down there in Houston. I like that call, CR Mayo. Funky Lions fans, Kneecap, you're saying that the 14th play of the Lions' career golf will throw him in a hospital ball that ends his career. Okay. I'm glad you guys are so positive over this. It won't be because of golf. It'll be because he's brittle. Okay. He's had an ACL injury and he has had a Achilles injury. And outside of that, he's been relatively healthy his whole career. You got to recover from these injuries. And it doesn't cost the Lions anything for this. They don't have to pick up his contract. They released him, which made him a free agent, and we signed him to the practice squad. That is nothing. We don't even have a commitment to him. We could just release him and wouldn't cost us anything. So JB found out last night Denver is still on the hook for his $9 million contract. You see? No risk. No risk. Yo, what's up, Russ? He had no guaranteed contract. Hey, what's up, broski's in the house? Dom in the house. Thought on our wide receiver core. Do you like the signing of Patrick from Denver? That's what we're talking about right here. Cockroach. Jeremy says, I don't even know. I swear that you comment to other people's comments, and I'm trying to follow. Try to stay with us here. One Funky's Lion fans, first year, if you are saying his first year with that receiver, it's the same thing. But Goff was already in the league long enough to look for a safety, just waiting to crush someone. First year here, it's anyone's first year here. Thoughts on the Sudfield or from the practice squad? So that was another thing that happened, was the Lions released Nate Dudfield. And I know that Jeremy probably had a party at his house when they released Suckfield. And some of us were really surprised on that. Dan Campbell gave his very first hint that they may be moving on from Sudfield like Wednesday of last week, where he didn't really commit when they asked about the battle. But other than that, they've been just glowing, talking about, wow, Nate Sudfield is the greatest in the world. Honestly, when you look at somebody that can help the team, Sudfield's been great at carrying the groceries in and sitting in the film room with Jared Goff, helping him prepare when the Lions weren't Super Bowl contenders. But now you have to cover every basis. And Jake Fromm, from 1 week of preparation, looked like way more of a gamer than Sudfield's been in 3 years here. Or 2 years, however long he's been here. And so Fromm looks like a guy that would be a plus player if he can learn this offense. So I would love to see them bring in Jake Fromm as the backup practice squad guy and get him in here learning. Maybe Sudfield doesn't play NFL football anymore. Maybe we can get Sudfield in here as a pair of eyes, somebody to just help in the quarterback room where he doesn't have to take a roster spot up, and he can still carry Goff's luggage and follow him around and help him out. So Jeremy says, I hated this signing more than anyone we cut yesterday. It didn't make sense to me. Okay, well, it makes complete sense to me that you need an X wide receiver, so you sign a 6'4" wide receiver. And I mean, if we want to be negative Nancy's and we want to go in and just say, oh man, he's not going to do good because he was injured and injury players never come back. And that's not true. You watch Adrian Peterson came back from an ACL injury. You've seen many of people come back from ACL injuries and Achilles injuries. Many people. And, you just got to go through the rehab. It's more of a mental test to the player than anything else. The guy had, if he is not injured, he is an upgrade over Josh Reynolds. He catches the ball better. He's taller. He is more of what that X receiver is, what they want out of that X receiver than Josh Reynolds. So, I mean, it's okay. I mean, I know that you hope that you're wrong on that one. That Josh wasn't able to catch the TD $1 million payday. It's the truth. We had that recency bias. I mean, I don't know how many people are too broken up over the Josh Biner says, you're going way back with the Biner name. I did, but it makes a lot of sense though, doesn't it? I mean, Ernest Biner was a Hall of Fame player that could have never been a Cleveland Brown. And, I was born in Ohio. I grew up around a whole bunch of Browns fans, and that was my first experience in watching football. And so I remember that being like an 11-year-old kid and, watching my family get very upset about that. And that was really my first real good experience with football right there. And then, I watched Barry Sanders run, and then it was all over. And then I make my entire family mad because I choose the Lions over the Browns. And, I'm sorry. That's why I say it's faith, family, and then football. Because, even though my whole family would disown me for being a Lions fan, and it's okay. And they're not really that's what I'm saying. It's like we put our faith and our family first, and then we have our football, because I can still love my family for being Browns fans, but I can still hate their football team. And Isaac Bruce, like that. I like that. I gave Josh heat more for how he reacted to dropping those passes, smiling and laughing on the sidelines, and says shit happens. Yeah, we gave up on him for that reason. It's hard. 6 foot even. So Patrick gets $10 million if he makes the show last year of his contract. Broski says, wow, you signed a one-legged wide receiver with 2 first names that hasn't played since 21. Sounds promising. To our practice squad, Broski. Our practice squad. We made, I better not see you get excited over one practice squad player. If you post anything about any of your practice squad guys being good, I'm going to come in there and say some things to you too. Come on, dude. That's weak. That's weak. We signed a practice squad guy that fits the X bill. Noah Brown or Terrence Marshall are the guys I would look at, because Marshall had a trash QB in Carolina. Oh, yeah. Tim Patrick's QB was way awesome. And he had Drew Lock. Yeah, he had some great quarterbacks in Denver. I like the idea of Marshall Jr. Sudfield was cut. Fromm was waived. Okay, the difference with that being, if you're waived, just for everybody that out there, if you're not quite understanding the difference between released and waived, it is release means you could turn around and like like Sudfield could immediately sign with any team that he wanted, because he was cut. So waiver, you actually have to make the clear. You have to clear all of the 32 teams, and then the Lions would have the first rights to bring him back on the practice squad, which I think actually bodes well for the thought of Jake Fromm being brought back right here. Because if you let Jake Fromm go and release him, then he gets to sign with any of the other teams. Now, if you waive him, we would have that you get the 32 teams would have a chance to claim him and put him on the 53-man roster. That's the other thing too, is if you make a waiver claim, which us at 52 people on the roster, this is a big idea right here. But if you make that waiver claim and you win the waiver claim, you have to make a spot on your roster for the guy. So there's no doubt in my mind right now, to Jeremy B's point, that the Lions are looking to add a player on the roster from waivers by having 52 people. I did do a happy dance during your show when it happened, for sure. For sure. Tim Patrick, when's the last time he played? He didn't even get to play last year. He suffered his Achilles injury in training camp. So he had been playing, and he's been playing well in the Denver training camp, but I do believe that this is a cap move future thing for them. I wouldn't compare scrubs to AP. Who's the scrub to AP? I mean, this guy is definitely not a scrub. Like, when you look at a guy, if you call a guy a scrub because he was injured, then please learn football. Because if these guys are a scrub, that means that he hadn't played well at all, and then he got injured. If he hadn't played well, we wouldn't be talking anything good about this guy. It's just a dude. But this guy, the last time he did play meaningful football, had an impact on the Denver Broncos with Drew Lock as his quarterback. So, good morning, Lions family. What's good, Villains Pride? Sudfield was cut because he lost the thumb drive. AG intercepted it. Oh, Jesus. Paul Jones, Betts was the cut that surprised me. So, we're not all right on these programs when we make these calls. And that's the thing. If you go out there and put yourself on the ledge, then sometimes you find things that were wrong. I wanted certain guys. Jeremy B was a really, really big Betts fan. Thought as far as that, not only was Betts going to make the roster, but he was going to get double-digit sacks with opposite of Aiden Hutchinson. And I'm just like, man, I want this guy to make the roster. I was a little bit hurt right there. I thought that Betts made a case to make the roster, and I do believe that he could get back on. And Jeremy B may make me eat my words, because if he comes in and has that James Houston effect, Betts, if he makes this practice squad and then he comes in, week 4, week 5, all of a sudden I'm going to be eating my words, and I have no problem with that. With the third QB rule being gone, does any team have only one QB on their active rosters? Packers have Willis, and that's almost a QB. Yeah, you could probably change his title, Jeremy, and just call him a running back, and that way you could roster another quarterback. Yeah, there you go. There, pick up another wide receivers off of waivers soon. You know what? The Tim Patrick thing is not that bad of a deal. We're not expecting this guy. This guy isn't going to come in and take, huge, meaningful snaps. He's a guy because you have guys already. I mean, think about that. Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jameson Williams, Khalif Raymond, Sam Laporta, Jahmyr Gibbs. You got all of these guys all over the place that can, and David Montgomery. So this guy doesn't have to come in and take, and get 13 targets a game. That's not what we're asking Patrick to do. That's what they may have been asking him to do in Denver when you're paying him that kind of money. And this, you could just go and you can have him out there on a couple plays a game that are his plays, and you can slowly work him in, give him 2 meaningful targets in a game, up to 5, targets in a game. Work him in like you did Jamison Williams last year. That seemed to work pretty well. Betts and Uku were the surprise cuts. Zylstra being waived was a surprise too. I would have to agree with that 100%. Like Uku, I didn't. That wasn't as big a surprise because he's the type of guy that I think can make it through. Because he was somebody that we really liked. He was getting all the practice hype. The Dan Campbell's talking about him all good and stuff. But these are all 3 of these guys. I think have a shot to make it through to the practice squad. But we'll see, because we're going to find out here in a couple hours, because the waiver claims had to be in by 12 o'clock here, and that's an hour and 15 minutes. So slowly after that, a little bit after that, probably 1-2 o'clock, we're gonna start seeing all the guys that got thrown onto the practice squad. And I'm sure that we're going to be talking about that tonight with John Macaroon on Detroit Darcy's show tonight. And I'm happy to tell you that I'm going to be producing that show tonight, and we are going to broadcast that live through the Villain Squad Facebook page. And I want to throw that up there right now, because if you're not doing anything right now, can you please like the broadcast that you're watching? Because we do football content 365 days a year on this page, whether it's a video of us talking about football or it's just pictures of questions that you guys can interact with. So I appreciate anybody that likes this page, shares this page, likes the broadcasts, or just listens every day. And I appreciate that. The Lions Villain Squad, 52,000 strong. We're heading to 53,000. Detroit Lions News Podcast. It'll also be broadcasting live there with John Macaroon tonight. And that'll be really, really cool, because that's one of my heroes right there as far as the podcasting world. I love me some John Macaroon, because he started his career in broadcasting a lot like we're starting our career in broadcasting. We've been doing this for a short time, about 3 years. And we had to make it through the 2021 season. Yes, we were broadcasting live into a different Facebook page at that time before it got shut down. So, but this is actually our second attempt. The Villain Squad was the answer to that. And it was a hard 2021, right? I mean, you got to admit that, going 0-10-1 before you win a game, and then starting out the second season doing podcasting, 1-6. Gosh, help, please. All right. Which defensive cut surprised you the most? And I think that you hit it right there. I mean, there wasn't a lot of surprise on the defensive cuts. I think it was more of, I wasn't surprised on the cut. I was surprised on who they kept. I think it's a really cool thing that Strickland made it as a safety, and they went with some of the younger guys. I really, really like that. Jeremy B says Isaiah Williams making the teams was a lock, and everyone else in the wide receiver room was off season, was more questionable than any other player. And they didn't mess around with that, Jeremy. They didn't mess around with that. Don't they pick up another side, Hutchinson? I don't think so. I think that we have a young core, and all of the guys that we picked, Matthew, were awesome. And I think that they're going to be just fine in that area. You gotta believe in your projection. And Jeremy B was a big help when it came to the 2021 thing. We lost our page. We lost our page due to jealousy from another person that does podcasts. And I'm not going to bother talking about that because it doesn't matter. Because when you got grit and you got the determination to keep it going, nothing's going to stop you anyway. So we got the grind. We're going to keep going. We started over in a new page. And honestly, I think it turned out better. And I'm glad you could help out in 2021. And I'm glad that we could help you out once we got our following and you were able to move out onto your own and do that type of thing. Betts would have had some exact locks, Ukwu, if Gilmore wouldn't have helped a guy. It eliminated the third sack of the preseason on Fields. Yeah, I don't know about that. I mean, I think these decisions were made in practice. Really, Dan Campbell would even said as much, where it's like you're looking at James Houston. James Houston made this roster, and I think that James Houston made this roster based off of what he was doing against our starting offensive linemen. When he was going up against Sewell and Decker, I think that that's what made the team more than any other thing. Right there. Thank you, Matt. Thank you. I appreciate it, man. We coming on here every day. We love talking football. And when you guys are all into the comments and asking questions, it's a beautiful thing. It makes it so much easier for me to, respond to what you guys want to talk about. And I think that makes that good for everybody. Toda says that it's only 52 so far. Yes, we've been going over that part of it. 52 people on the roster. Why 52 instead of 53? And if you're just popping on, I'll answer this to Toda, is the fact that when you waive a player, then 31 teams get a chance to pick up that player. And if he clears waivers and you pick up a waiver player from a different team, then you have to make a roster spot for that person. So when they cut it down to 52, that told me that they were 100% going for a roster spot. And they got a couple people that are sitting on the sidelines right now waiting to re-sign with the team, like a Kyle Pecco. He was cut, but he ain't going nowhere. He's going to be coming back to the team. I don't think that he's going to sign with a different team. That'll be a surprise to me. But I think they did a slick move. Like last year, they did the same thing with Craig Reynolds. They cut Craig Reynolds for the initial roster, and then they brought him right back after they did all their injury reserve stuff. And them keeping an extra spot on the roster tells me that they got a couple waiver claims that they'll get awarded a waiver claim by 2:00 today, and we'll know who that person is, and we'll get to talk about them tonight on the show with John Macaroon. So why 52 instead of 53? I believe it's because they're going to make a waiver wire. It's a waiver wire edition because they have to clear a roster spot. CR Mail, Russ, you called it last week. Wuku would be able to join the practice squad while Houston would not. And they know that. When they're having their deep discussions, CR, they're having their deep discussions. They think about that. It may not be the most talented player. I mean, Jeremy B may have been right. Ukwu may have been the most talented player, but if you want it all, right? You want your cake and you want to eat it too, then you got to kind of play the field a little bit. And Houston, just based off the 8.5 sacks that he's had in his career, there's no way he would clear waivers. There's zero chance. There's somebody that's out there that needs a pass rushing specialist. And, our roster is so thick that you want to be able to keep a guy like that. But if he can't play the run, then, that's not as big of a use of a roster spot. to Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes. Now to a team that just wants a guy that can go in on third down and wreck the passer, Houston's your guy. But our regime wants you to be able to be out there on 3 downs. We want you to be able to go out there and, if you put out James Houston on your team, you're pretty much telling the people that you're going to rush the passer. And any smart team that's out there could see that and be like, okay, we're going to run at that guy. Screw it. This guy can't stop the run. Like, that's what I would do every single time I saw Houston out there until he proves that he can stop the run. So even on this team, 3rd and 15, 3rd and 11, 3rd and 10, that's where he's going to have his value. He's going to have a lot of value there if that's what he's doing is rushing the passer. But don't be surprised if it's on a 3rd and 6, if a team just decides to run right at James Houston and then get the first down, unless he proves that he can stop the run. So Ukwu would be the more, I think that he's more of the all-around defensive end. And it's because Brad Holmes isn't done cooking. They did this stuff last year, Jeremy, with the whole Craig Reynolds thing. And I think it's slick, man. I think it's slick. Darren, what's none of my concern? Is that not for me? Did somebody say I wouldn't compare Scrubs to AP? I don't know. Something's none of my concern. Don't worry about it. Okay, cool. All right. So that takes care of the comments right there. But I do want to say that in 4 minutes, we're going to be losing all of the Huddle Sports Network guys, as that show will click over to the Ken and Ken morning show. So if you're a Bear fan and you love Homer Bear stuff, then Ken and Ken has got you covered. They do a lot of the NFC North talk that we do, but they're definitely more Bear-centric. So if you want to know more about the Bear stuff, I know about the Bear stuff. You ask me specific questions from Bear fans, I will give my opinion on any of the other NFC North teams. But as we lose our Huddle Sports Network guys, if you're over there and you're watching that, we are broadcasting live, and to my personal page, the YouTube, the Villain Squad YouTube page. You can click over to there if you want to continue watching this show. You can come over to our Facebook page with our 52,000 villains. Thank you for the follows and thank you for the likes. Or you can come over to the Detroit Lions News Podcast. But the YouTube, that is the one that's going to stay there. Okay? Like if you're commenting and you're commenting on the Facebook page, I'm sorry to say, but right now the copyright stuff won't allow me to use the music that I paid for to be the theme music, and I love the song too much to lose it. But they're not copyright dinging me on YouTube, which means that I'm going to have to delete the 2 broadcasts, and then I'm going to re-upload them onto the Facebook pages and take out the intros. And then they'll be up. They'll be up within an hour afterwards. That's what I've been doing. That's what's been working. So I appreciate you guys. So welcome everybody over from the Huddle Sports Network, that you can come over on this side. On this side, the dark side. Come over to the dark side. The villains. The villains are here. Oh my gosh. Reader removed from the PUP list. Now, there's been a lot of talk. Broski definitely gave me a lot of crap about this, saying how we always sign injured players and how I should, go run and hide because signing injured players never works until it does. And that's what happens when you sign injured players, is if you got a good medical staff, they can come back from their injuries and then they're going to be out there. And when you got a guy like DJ Reader, who had a quad injury, and then he had a second quad injury. He recovered from one quad injury and took the Cincinnati Bengals to a Super Bowl. Now he had the same injury, but on the other leg, and he had the same type of rehab, and the Lions decided to sign him at a discount. When this guy is healthy, this is a top 3 defensive tackle, period, in the league. Period. He's a big dude. This is a dude right there. And they remove him from the PUP list. That doesn't mean that he's going to be there week 1. Their whole plan from the get-go was that he would be there by week 2. That was like when they signed him, they considered that as the possibility. Now it looks like there's a possibility he might be there for week 1. And if he is there for week 1, this is a dude. Here is a guy, and there's not too many guys you can say this about. If you do not double team a healthy DJ Reader, then he's going to blow your play up. End of discussion. It is what it is. He's going to blow your play up. You have to double team him. Now, he's going to be sitting next to Aleem McNeil. And Aleem McNeil is also a top 10 defensive tackle in the league. And you have to double team him too. So what does that tell you? What the biggest thing that tells you is the after effect. Aiden Hutchinson was the most double team guy on our team last year by a mile. It wasn't even a close thing. He led the team in pressures. He was where we got the sacks. Everybody was filling gaps. And when you go from Quentin Bohanna and Isaiah Buggs to DJ Reader, Aleem McNeil, yeah, I mean, you can't even measure what type of upgrade that is. So when you have to double team those two guys, what does that mean? That means with DJ Reader on this team next to Aleem McNeil, that Aiden Hutchinson will get more one-on-one looks in 2024 than he did in 2022 and 2023 combined. That's what that means. And that is some dangerous stuff. I don't even know what that really means. Like, is Aiden Hutchinson going to get 30 sacks? I mean, I don't know if he's going to get 30 sacks. That's not going to be a lot. But that's the potential of trying to block Aiden Hutchinson one-on-one. And you're picking your poison. And what else did you do? You went out and signed 4 different cornerbacks that are all better than the best cornerback you had last year in Cameron Sutton. Which means you're going to get an additional 3-4 seconds to rush the passer on pass downs. Now, ask yourself the question. Do you think Aiden Hutchinson could get more sacks if he had 3 or 4 more seconds to get to the quarterback with his relentless pursuit? Now, that doesn't even mention whoever is on the other side, whether that's Davenport, whether that's Pascal, whether that's Levi, whoever's going to be on that opposite side of Aiden Hutchinson. Because that's one of the big questions too, right? Who's going to be the opposite of Hutchinson? It's going to be the same thing as it was last year. Aiden Hutchinson plays 90% of the snaps, and the other rotation of guys take 20%, maybe 25% of the snaps. That's it. You know, you're gonna play matchups on the other side. Hutchinson will be out there the whole time, and I believe that Reader is a 2-down guy. I mean, he does offer a little bit in the pass rush, but I do believe they'll take him out and they'll use the pass rushing defensive tackles like Pascal and Levi. And the funny thing is like Levi and Pascal, however you want to say his name, are the opposites. They're like the yin and the yang of each other. Pascal is a defensive end that offers value on the inside in the pass rush. Levi Onwuzurike is a defensive tackle who actually offers value at defensive end. Now, obviously, he's not as good of a defensive end as he is at a tackle, and vice versa. but they complement each other. That's the biggest thing, is we have the right guys on this roster. It's not necessarily always the most talented guy that you want. You want the guy that's right for you, that has the right mentality, and the right tenacity. Keep running at the quarterback. So let's get back in here. Jeremy B says 15 for Hutch. Yep. Paul Jones says Davenport. Paul Jones says nobody's talking about the end we got from the Vikings. It's because of the same thing. The same reason Jeremy B doesn't like Tim Patrick is because Davenport's never played a full season ever. He's had some flashes. He's definitely got some ability, okay? Like, let's talk about Davenport here for a minute. Davenport he's got talent. They traded up into the first round to get Davenport in New Orleans because he's got talent. He's got like that freakish power bull rush. He's got he can play. He can play the defense. He can set the edge. He's good against the run. He can get after the quarterback. And if you got 17 games of what Davenport's talent brings, I think that you would have a really, really good player. But the unfortunate thing about that, Paul Jones, is that Davenport hasn't had a full season. So the reason why we're not talking about him is because he's one of those guys who's got to prove it. He's gonna have to be proving it. Henry Gray says, "Don't be surprised if Reeder is the comeback player of the year." Oh, for sure. DJ Reeder is an underrated signing, right along with Terrell Williams. I mean, Terrell Williams, to me, is the most underrated signing that the Lions had, because that right there is going to make the entire defensive line better. Honestly, guys, when you think of how good of a coach he is, how well respected he is all the way through the NFL. I mean, Terrell Williams makes Pascal, Levi, Houston, Hutchinson, all of those guys are going to level up because of how they're going to play that front. And we're going to attack when it comes down to that. Hutchinson looks like he improved his outside spin at camp. And he says that Pascal will play more DN. He slimmed down some, needs to really. But where Pascal does offer interior pass rush. That's something that he had even in Kentucky. He sets the edge on the first two downs really, really well. And I expect Pascal to be the one that stands in there. I think that he's going to be a better player than Davenport this year. And I'm putting myself out there for that one, but I think he was the breakout player, because there's something about Brad Holmes and his third-year players. And that's what's scary about Hutchinson, Jeremy, is, everybody thought that, Aiden Hutchinson broke out last year, but it's really been the third-year players in this system that really break out. And to think that Hutchinson hasn't broken out yet, that should be scary to the other teams too. And if you're not scared, then you should be paying attention more. If you're Broski or you're A-Dub and you're not scared of the progression of this defensive line, then I don't know what to tell you. I'm not gonna give into any of your negative Nancy stuff, rival fan, because you got more questions to answer than we do. Adam says, Lions Nation, let's go. What up, Russell? I'm kind of excited about our roster. We got a lot of defensive end pressure now and progression. And I've been on my soapbox since the beginning of the offseason talking about progression. The biggest, scariest thing about any team is progression. Any team. The Green Bay Packers want us to be scared about Josh Jacobs? Not even a little bit. I'm not scared about Josh Jacobs. You know why I'm not scared about Josh Jacobs? Because I was scared of Aaron Jones. And you're bringing a new guy in. And just because you bring in another guy that's talented doesn't necessarily mean that he's going to be better. You know what I'm scared of on the Green Bay Packers team is progression. Jordan Love going into the second year of an offense, having an entire training camp, another training camp, knowing that he's the starter, more continuity with his young wide receivers. Progression. That's the scariest thing of any team. That's why I'm not as scared of the Chicago Bears and all their talent, right? They got talent. Ryan Poles is a G. Ryan Poles is a G. He goes out, he pulls down the pants of the Carolina Panthers, gets some extra picks, runs out to LA, pulls the pants down of the Chargers front office, gets talent all over the place. But Eberflus can't coach. By your own team was calling him Eberfluke last year. You wanted him fired last year. Why am I supposed to trust the progression of the Chicago Bears? Yeah, maybe you did sign Patrick Mahomes, but Patrick Mahomes would have went to the Bears. He wouldn't have gotten the contract extensions. He wouldn't have brought you any Super Bowls because you can't coach. You can't coach. I'm scared of progression. I'm more scared of the progression of the Minnesota Vikings. You're going to bring Sam Darnold, who's probably the best quarterback besides Kirk Cousins that you've had. He's got a little bit of mobility, too. That's the best skill position room Sam Darnold's ever played in. So I might be more scared of the Minnesota Vikings than I am the Bears. But we'll see. We'll see when it comes to real game planning. When it's not just running plays. Preseason is checkers. The season is chess. And that's God's honest truth. The season is chess. Because checkers, you're running plays, right? Halfback dive. Off, right? Let's see how these players function with basic plays. Now, if you're out there calling trick plays in preseason, shame on you. Shame on you and your coaching. Why don't you just show everybody all the plays that you're going to do this year? Vanilla. Pressure. Want to do simple play, action, pass. Hooker, read. Try to see if you can complete passes. Checkers. Game planning. When you get into chess, what makes Ben Johnson the best offensive coordinator in the league? He's going to show you a look in week 1, and then week 8, he'll finally show the tweak off of that look because you've been looking at the week 1 tape for 8 weeks, and all of a sudden, Ben Johnson, pulls the hook and ladder. I mean, come on. It's chess. It's chess during the season. So, congratulations to the Chicago Bears for winning a game of checkers. 4 games of checkers. 4 in a row. Very good. But I don't trust your coaching. This should be our defense goes top 5. Look at that. Adam putting himself out there. Top 5 defense. Adam's calling it. August 28th, 2024. Paul Jones says, Reader got my respect when he was told he'd work twice as hard and make less money, and he couldn't wait to sign. Chemistry over hype. Love it. I'll be happy with anything in the top 10, trying to be realistic. We're the 19th ranked defense last year. I'll put myself out there. I do believe that this defense is going to be unrecognizable when it comes to the regular season. Terrion Arnold, Ennis Rakestraw, that can't be undersold. You got 2 of the top 5 collegiate cornerbacks to build your team around. You got another cornerback that has won a Super Bowl. Amik Robertson is probably was one of the best depth signings in the style of who we are. That secondary is going to be unrecognizable. If these NFC North teams plan on just chucking the ball down the field last year, like they did last year, it's not going to be successful like it was last year, guys. It just won't. Now, if you want to be a homer to your team and say, oh, well, we would have kicked your ass last year if it wasn't for this or it wasn't for that. It's like, look, you got better, but our team got better where it needed to get better. Like by a mile. Oh, we need Aiden Hutchinson can't do it by himself. Yeah, you had Quentin Bohanna last year and Isaiah Buggs. We're talking about these guys like, yeah, we got Isaiah Buggs. Those guys are good, hard workers, but they're not plus players. They're guys that could work within the system and they were okay. But you really only had Aiden Hutchinson last year and then some guys to eat up space. But he's got a defensive line that's got to be contended with now, all the way across the front, 3-4 deep. You know, a progression Josh Paschal is better than Romeo Okwara. I mean, come on. Charles Harris. And now we're in, Pascal and Levi. And maybe they're full of crap on Levi. But why would Dan Campbell and Kevin Zeitler say the things that they said about Levi? And and if Levi wasn't who Dan Campbell says he was, why wasn't he out there in preseason trying to earn a job? Why did they lock his job up so fast and put him in street clothes? It wasn't because he was injured. The guy's been completely healthy. They know who their team is, just like Jeremy said. 41 guys, they knew who they were beforehand. Let's see. Too many guys returning from injuries. That's everybody, David. Every single team in the NFL has guys returning from injuries. And the really smart teams recognize that they need all 53 guys on the roster because we're going to suffer injuries. We're going to suffer injuries on the offensive line. We're going to suffer injuries on the defensive line. What you're hoping for is you don't have too many significant injuries for a long time that, take you off of the game for a while. You want guys coming back from injuries as guys are leaving with injuries, and you got a good balance, right? So too many guys returning from injuries. I mean, that's the entire NFL. Is today the teams start drafting their practice squad? Yes. At 12 o'clock, they have to have their waiver claims in, and probably 1 or 2 o'clock today, they're going to start announcing the guys that the Lions are going to sign to the practice squad. And we should have a full report by tonight's show with Detroit Darcy, broadcasting that one live here too. So with John Macaroon from Sports Illustrated, don't miss tonight's show at 7:30 on the Villain Squad Facebook page. We should be okay health-wise. Yeah, we held some guys back. We're letting the guys get uninjured. That Patrick move was the Patrick signing was our biggest move yet. Goff's accuracy will keep him healthy, tall and rangy. A huge upgrade. I don't know if it's a huge upgrade, but I would definitely put Tim Patrick on the same level as Josh Reynolds. I think that he's a little bit better than Josh Reynolds. I think he has better hands than Josh Reynolds, but I wouldn't say it was a huge upgrade over what we had. But this guy is a good locker room guy too. Mark said, excited to see how many different ways they use Vaki this year. Oh, I love the Vaki one. Josh Jacobs is not used to the cold Green Bay weather. Yeah, he's also used to not going to a team that has as good of an offensive line. It's really funny. They think just because he came from the Raiders that automatically the Raiders just have a worse offensive line than the Packers, and they were comparable. He's really going back into a very comparable situation that he was. Green Bay is not a running team, so unless they change their philosophy, I don't see them doing lots of, I formation stuff. But I could be wrong on that. The whole Packer fandom wanted his love gone, and if they say they didn't, they're lying. They did. They did. There was more smack talk on the whole Clifford talk, which is really funny when I see the Frozen Thunder Network come out and it'd say, oh, yeah, oh, you Lion fans trying to tell us that love wasn't good and that they should replace it with... It wasn't us that said that, Frozen Thunder Network. It was your own fan base. When you were 2-4, you were calling for his head. You were saying, put Clifford out there. And it's like, wow, okay, you don't want to give up on this guy. You didn't get that from our show. We might have been laughing about it a little bit while you guys were in witness protection. Couldn't find a Packer fan for the first 6 weeks except for A-Dub and Steve. All you guys talked all that mad trash at the beginning of last year. By week 5, you were gone. By week 8, you were kind of creeping back in, trying to pretend like, oh, man, I had to work. Oh, I would have been on supporting my team, but, I had family problems. My dog died. Oh, that's why I didn't come on the team. It's like, we know who you are. And anybody that's followed this show knows that we used to do a trash talking show. And the thing is, like, we're not going to do a trash talking show if by every time that we get our turn to talk trash, that you go to witness protection. And then you only get to come in on the wins. After the Lions destroyed the Green Bay Packers in Lambeau, it was A-Dub and Steve. And Robert Pertana popped his head in for 2 minutes and said, that was a good win for you guys. Outside of that, Ghost on our trash talking. And then when did they come back after they won on Thanksgiving? They came back like they'd won the last 18 meetings. Oh, look at what happened now. The Lions, same old Lions doing all the stuff. And it's like, nah, we're not going to do trash talk anymore. Because, like, we at least want to be able to do our touchdown dance. And you should have to take it. You should have to take it. But no, you had to go to witness protection, Packer fan. You know you did. A-Dub knows that happened too. He has to, go and really check it. But you can call yourself a good Packer fan, A-Dub. You can. Because when the Lions would lose, you know what we would be doing? We'd be sitting here taking our medicine. We'll stand here after the losses. When we were 1-6, I took my medicine. When we were 0-10, I took my medicine. I didn't come up here making excuses. All right, Gibbs 2.0 on the Vaki. I think that we're talking about Sion Vaki right here. And here's a guy right here. When you only want to keep 3 running backs usually, right? But Sion Vaki's so good at special teams, offers so much in different spots that Vaki had to make the team. I think Vaki might have made the team based off of his special teams skills alone. But Brad Holmes said that he was one of the smartest players that he had ever came in and interviewed in the draft. And I appreciate that so much. Oh, interesting factoid right here. No team that has played in the Hall of Fame game has went to the Super Bowl. We were really close to that, Jeremy. That's something else right there. Sorry, Texans and Bear fans. Yeah, that whole nothing, never ever went to the Super Bowl. I can't subscribe to that. Jeremy, because if that's the case, then you don't believe in the Lions either, because Just because you've never been there, I mean, you can't go on that. We have to have more hope than that. Don't forget about that bum Benito Jones, too. Oh, come on, man. You didn't like Benito? Oh, our defense is going crazy this year. That's facts. And that's the thing. It's like, you know, Packer fan bragging about getting Josh Jacobs over Aaron Jones. It's like the Lions replaced like players that you're probably not even going to know in the rest of the NFL. Benito Jones, were they running to the waiver wire to get him? Oh, how about Isaiah Buggs? Yeah, he goes over to Kansas City. That didn't last very long, did it? Quentin Bohanna. Yeah, they're running to the waiver wires to pick him up, and you replace those guys with top-end players. It's like taking your Madden franchise, and you got 3 guys that are like rated 55, 59, 61, and you replace them with guys that progressed into 81, 89, 95 for DJ Reader, and it's like, it's night and day, guys. It's night and day. Practice squad signing now. Yeah, they have to have these waiver claims in by 12 o'clock, but it doesn't mean that, you know, that they can start signing some of the guys that were released, but they're not going to be able to get any of the waiver guys signed until after 12 o'clock, because that's how long they have to put them in. 50-plus points from the defense alone this year. I'll call it out. I love these hot takes, man. Try to give you some props when it gets down to it. Patrick is an upgrade from DPJ. Well, DPJ underperformed. I mean, that's a damn shame, because DPJ, you know, he had that fire a couple of years ago, but he's had his chance to make it onto the team. Tim Patrick hadn't. Tim Patrick had a plus season that got him a good contract, and then he got injured with the ACL and then injured with the Achilles. So the last thing that we remember from Patrick is that he was good, and he was a help to the team. Kind of reminds me of James Houston in that way. That horrific injury that he had to try to come back from. And that's where he's at. You know, the only reason you wouldn't believe in James Houston is because you don't believe that he fully came back from that injury. Same thing with Patrick. But no risk on either one of these guys. Doesn't cost you anything. How quick can defensive backfields gel? Well, it depends on what type of defense you're playing. When it comes to our attack style defense right here, I don't think it's going to take long at all. Because what they do, David, they went out and signed 4 man cornerbacks. Man, you want to play man, you need to sign some man cornerbacks. These are really the first man quarterbacks that we've had since Jeff Okudah. And Jeff Okudah, as we know, wasn't as good as they thought he was going to be. But Carlton Davis, when he is asked to be a man corner, he's one of the best in the league. Now, where his PFF grades dip and where he's not as good is in zone. But I don't think that's what they called him. I think when they traded for him, the conversation sounded something like this. All right, Carlton, we ain't going to ask you to play zone. I'm going to ask you to go out and find the number 1 wide receiver, and I want you to follow him around the whole day and do what you've done your whole career. So you don't need as much gelling for that when your defense is going to be attack. Same thing with Terrion Arnold, best man corner in the draft. Now, it wasn't even close. I mean, they had Quinyon Mitchell, but he was a better zone corner. If you wanted a zone corner, you went for Quinyon. If you want a man corner, you wanted Terrion Arnold. And that's what it was. We want another man corner. Ennis Rakestraw, another guy that plays physical. You're going to compete for that starting slot corner job while they move Brian Branch back. So I think the defensive backfield can gel very quickly because you're putting Brian Branch into the position that he was drafted to be in, which is the safety position. And They put him in a secondary position, which was the slot corner last year, and he performed like a top 10 corner in the league. So it only goes to say that if he goes back to his natural position at safety, that you may have a first team All-Pro in Brian Branch. And I'll go there. You want my hot take? It's Brian Branch is going to be a first team All-Pro safety. And he is going to be definitely in the top 100 players next year when it comes down to that. Kenneth says that I see Williams making plays this season. Which one? Is that I Williams or is that Jameson Williams? It says excited to see Isaiah Williams make plays. Okay, I think it's going to be Isaiah Williams with the thing. But just remember, we got Jay Williams too. But I am excited to see that speed. You could hear a mouse piss on a cotton after that week 3 loss. They were nowhere to be found for like 3.5. I mean, it wasn't even the first win. They ended up getting one win, and they ended up being 3. I think it was 3-6 at that time, or 3-5, and they still didn't come out. It took 2 or 3 wins before, they started popping up. Hey man, we might not be that bad. Hey man, like that. And it started out with all humble takes, but then when it came to that, they came out like flying out, like one of those phone booth people trying to put as many people in a phone booth. They all came out on the phone booth at the same time. Yeah, I was like, okay, man, where's all that confidence 2 weeks ago, Slappy? Paul Jones. Jared Michael Henry off the third says he gets about 10% added to the playbook from Ben Johnson about every 6 weeks. So he's looking at about 80% of the playbook going into this season. I mean, I don't know if that's the right number. I know that Jared Michael Henry Goff the third helped write the offense. So maybe he's closer to that number. Bugs was a 73. Stephen Thomas knows that because he was playing Madden this morning, and for some reason they still had Bugs on that roster, and he's been building them up. He's got the progression going in there. Stephen Thomas has got Bugs up at a 90 now, after 3 years of progression. So I don't blame you for keeping him on the team, Stephen. Just kidding. It's good to see you in here, Stephen. I love seeing Steven in here. I've had some great conversations with my favorite Buckeye fan, Stephen Thomas, in the back. Love it. And I hope it's the right Stephen Thomas, or else he's going to want to beat me up. Mark, secondary will improve 100% this year, even with the 2 rookies coming in. Well, yeah, the 2 rookies are better than any of the – I mean, think about it. The 2 rookies got to be better than Jerry Jacobs and Will Harris. Oh my God, these upgrades. It's like we're not playing the same game here, guys. When you look at these upgrades, yeah, the Packers signed Xavier McKinney. Well, yeah, you guys had Darnell Savage last year. McKinney's better. There's no doubt that he's better. It's an upgrade, but it's not an upgrade like Carlton Davis, Jerry Jacobs. And miss me if you're about ready to throw a PFF stat up in there. That puts his zone scores in there, and he's never been a good zone guy. And if he had low score in zone coverage, shame on Tampa Bay for putting him in that position, not putting him in a position of strength. He's one of the best man corners in the league, 100% better than anything Jerry Jacobs or Will Harris could bring. I believe our pressure on opposing quarterbacks will improve our secondary. I think that it's going to help each other. The fact that the secondary can cover longer is also going to give the Lions more time to get to the quarterback. So that's 2 position groups really feeding each other, if you know what I mean. If Houston returns to form on passing downs, our defense should be ridiculous. Position players branch is going home. Last year, I kept getting Laporta on my fantasy teams. Awesome year. This year, it's JMO for me. I love it. I love it. I ended up drafting Laporta in my keeper league, so I'm allowed to keep him on my team for his entire prime. And I love that. I got Amon-Ra St. Brown as a keeper on my team too. So as we're getting to the end right here, gosh, you guys gave me a workload today. I love that we got some good football conversation in here today. Paul Jones is agreeing with Ken. Got to turn into this pumpkin. Oh, Ken's trying to get a question in. That's good. That's okay. I'm feeling good about staying a little bit extra today because this is a big day. You know, roster cutdowns day might be one of the biggest days, you know, besides the draft, you know, when it comes to roster management. By the way, hit that like button like those two people just did right there. If you're watching and you like football content, especially Detroit Lions news content, hit that like button on whatever platform you're watching on. And we are broadcasting live into the Facebook page. Please go follow the Facebook page, the Lions Villain Squad. 52,000 villains. Help us get to 53,000 before the season starts. Get in there. Like the video that you're watching right now because it helps us to keep content like this coming out every day at 10 a.m. for the Lions Villain Report. 53-man roster talk. We're talking about it. I'm your host, Russell Wayne. And I'm here every day at 10 a.m. talking some football, talking some trash. Getting ready for this season. I can't wait. I can't wait. Next week's shows are going to be so much fun because we're going to be talking about a football game, folks. A football game. A real, genuine football game. The Lions hosting the beat-up L.A. Rams. I don't think they're going to have Jonah Jackson. They just traded their best linebacker. I think this is teed up for the Lions to go in and get a signature win. A great win to come in and just, you know, I'm sorry that your team's injured, but we don't care. We need to go in there and take care of business and show people that this is not the same old Lions, that we came to play this year, that it is serious about going to the Super Bowl. We ain't going to fall off. This is a huge year for our Detroit Lions. You got to prove that you can do it. You had a great end of 2022. You missed the playoffs in 2022. At this point, miss me with 8-2 down the stretch. Oh, it's almost 2 years worth of good stuff. No. You need to back up a playoff season with another playoff season and get to the Super Bowl this year. You want to get this monkey off your back? You got to get it done this year. You got the players. Like, I've been hyping you up all off season right here. I believe in this team and what Brad Holmes has done with this 53-man roster. The top story, this 53-man roster. I'm sorry about the bad graphics. I couldn't see earlier this morning. Got Brad Holmes all cut off on there. You see, you can help us get better stuff. And the easiest thing that you can do to help us get better stuff is liking and sharing the stuff that's out here. But the top storylines, Brad Holmes putting together a roster. Can they finish the job? Can they at least prove they can win the division again for the second time? That would silence a lot of people. I made a bet last year on this show with one of those Packer fans that went into witness protection. I'm not even going to say his name because it isn't worth saying his name. He knows who he is. He said he'd never say SOL again as long as the Lions finally won the division in a playoff game. I'll never say it again. That'll be when I say it. And he welched on the bet. I'm not going to bet with Packer fans anymore because they're not honorable. We honor all of our bets. But you just want to ride on the coattails of your history. You won some Super Bowls back in the 60s. Good job. Good job. You won a Super Bowl with Brett Favre. Good job. You guys used to be really, really good. But you know what? I'm going to pull the same medicine on you, Green Bay Packer fan. You expect us to believe in Jordan Love after 10 games. But yet you tell me not to believe in Jared Goff after 10 games. Now you're telling me not to believe in Jared Goff after a full season and a better season than you. Now I'm not supposed to believe in Jared Goff, but you expect me to believe in Jordan Love. Stop it. Stop it. It's okay. I believe you have a good quarterback. I believe that Jordan Love is a starting quarterback. I give your team kudos where it needs to be good. But this roster is a Super Bowl roster. The Lions. I'm not sure about the Green Bay Packers. You gotta prove that you could do it. The Lions bringing back 41 guys from that championship team. The ones that they replaced is the secondary and those holes on the defensive line. This roster's stacked. Can Dan Campbell finally bring it home? This is the Lions Villain Report. I am your host, Russell Wayne, 10 a.m. every morning. Join me tonight with Main Event Mike. We're going to be on Detroit Darcy's show. We're actually going to broadcast it live during on the Facebook page. We'd love to see you on there. John Macaroon from Sports Illustrated. Mike's going to get to ask him some questions. We're going to be on there with Mark Orm in the Spirit of Detroit podcast. We're very happy to be in this circle of people now. Thank you to the Huddle Sports Network on Roku. Thank you to Bill the Packer fan. Thank you to Mike the Bear fan for allowing us on that network. They allow us to talk a little bit of trash on there, and they do that thing. So we appreciate you guys. Even though we're not broadcasting in there right now, we go till 11 o'clock, but still, let's do it. Go subscribe to the YouTube channel, JC Sports, and our Villain Squad YouTube page as well. It's faith, family, and football. Faith, family, and then football. You see, we have friends from the Green Bay Packers, the Bears, and the Vikings because we don't hate on the person. We actually love the person because that's what we believe in. We believe in loving on people no matter what. We want to help people anytime that we can because of faith, family, and then football. In that order, we use football to spend time with our family, to create memories. We don't let football use us. And I leave you with this. May the Lord bless you. May the Lord keep you. And may the Lord shine his face upon you until we meet again. And that's going to be tonight, 7:30, with John Macaroon from Sports Illustrated. We're thankful. God bless you. Peace out.
Hey, yo, the lies so that you never make it. Hopeless, so it seems. Eyes closed, canvas open wide to embrace your dreams. Sometimes you gotta take a loss just to get the win. Like licensing was popping in like oxygen when boxes wet. Focus on the mental, never lose like smooth instrumental. Better choose on the move in a pinto. Choose when I get to, never lose smooth on the move, but it's simple. Never give up and we running it maybe. We just keep winning, we conquering daily. Envision and pay me, it's never the sway me. Indigenous, maybe we winning is crazy. Your opportunity, your opportunity, your opportunity. It's your opportunity, your opportunity, your opportunity, your opportunity. opportunity. It's your opportunity. Your opportunity. Your opportunity. Your opportunity.